All right, it is hard to believe we have never gotten a TV show in the Alien franchise before, but Alien Earth is here, which takes place 2 years before the events of the original Alien, one of the greatest sci-fi movies ever made. But anyways, so how is the new show? Well, let's talk about it. What is up, everyone? Welcome to Mad Blood. And first of all, let me know down in the comments down below what you think about Alien Earth so far. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Are you kind of in the middle about it? Do you think it's a good addition to the Alien franchise? Let me know. Oh, and just a heads up, guys, I will talk about some spoilers with this show throughout this review. I think it's just the most effective way to talk about this show thus far. So you have been warned, there will be some spoilers about the first 2 episodes of Alien Earth in this review. So like I mentioned a second ago, this show takes place 2 years before the events in the original Alien movie. So it's 2120. We're 800 plus million miles away from Earth in this opening sequence. We're on this Weyland-Yutani deep space research vessel. So right away, a little different than the original Alien. They're doing research on this one. They're not just getting a bunch of cargo and bringing it back for the old corporation and all of that. But immediately, I'm really loving just kind of the aesthetic that they're going for with this ship. And yes, very similar to the original movie, which might be my favorite sci-fi movie ever made, but very similar to that movie, especially in that introduction. You can just smell the cigarettes and the coffee through the screen, and I just absolutely love it. And yeah, in the introduction to this show, it's definitely a bit of a copy and paste, kind of a remake of that original movie. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, I'm still loving this new take on it and the aesthetic and all of that. But what I love the most is that early on, they're showing us the type of look that they're going for, not only with this ship, but just with the movie in general in a lot of ways. And that's an aesthetic that me personally, I love in my sci-fi shows or movies. And I'm liking too that I'm getting buckled up because they're showing us this ship. They're showing us some of the stuff that they were able to capture in this research just journey that they've been on. They're putting these things in like these little cages and all these other things. They're watching them. They're monitoring them. And this is some of the nastiest, creepy, crawly shit besides just the xenomorphs and the face huggers that you can possibly imagine. And me, I'm sitting there in my chair, I'm like, all right, okay. This is not gonna go well. I know that, but I'm pretty lucky because I get to witness all of it. And early on in this show, they tell us right away something that's gonna be very important in this story is gonna be like synthetics and cyborgs and other variations of things like this. So we transport also, after we're doing some of this stuff on this ship, to this island. Very similar to like an island you would see in like Jurassic Park or something like that. But it's this research island for this place called the Prodigy Corporation. So at this point on Earth, there's like 5 corporations that basically run all of Earth and own most of the land. It seems like own the buildings and the businesses and all of that. So yeah, pretty relatable to today's society in a lot of different ways. But we're introduced to a big storyline, clearly that's going to be throughout this story on this island. This Prodigy guy is kind of like this young, whatever you want to call him, a young Elon Musk or whatever the hell. But he's doing this thing with kids who are very, very sick. Seems like they're terminally ill, turning them into synthetics, putting them into another body, superhuman strength, superhuman speed, and things like that. And he thinks they're going to evolve to be super intelligent. Like he says in the show, he's like, I could finally have a good conversation with somebody who's maybe smarter than me or something like that. But there's also some good eeriness with it. I like the idea to like layer on the whole Peter Pan thing with these kids. They're also called the Lost Boys. But I like that angle of it. You can definitely tell there's some eeriness. I think they're effective in pulling that off. And yeah, it makes me interested in it because these kids are very innocent, but you can tell that this guy, there's something up. He's got other ideas with this, and they don't exactly reveal that super early on, which I do like. But yeah, and then we cut back to the ship, and all shit has hit the fan on the ship. It seems like there's only 2 survivors. The captain, he's the cyborg guy. He's locking himself into Mother. It's basically a replica of Mother from the original Alien, which I love. The tactileness of all of it, the look of that Mother area, love that whole thing. But this guy, he just lets, the last remaining girl get slaughtered by the xenomorph and then puts himself into this little pod as this ship is heading straight for Earth. And it's bringing some little xenomorph friends along with it, which obviously the show is called Alien Earth, so that's going to be a big part of it, we can tell. But I like the brutality of this scene, and I think it kind of like makes me want to see the rest of this episode, especially because it's like, what is this guy up to? He's probably obviously working for Weyland-Yutani, a storyline that we've seen before, somebody on the ship sabotaging the ultimate plans of a lot of the other people and, taking the cargo and putting that above the human lives. Of course, we've seen that before. But I want to see how his story plays out, which I'll also talk about more in just a minute. I will also say the way that this TV show looks, you could say the cinematography, however you want to put it, is actually really, really damn good. Some great shots throughout the first 2 episodes of this show. Just the overall look of all of it is really actually amazing. I don't know what the budget is for the show, but it kind of seems crazy, especially after seeing the stuff with the crash site, how that all goes down. Early with the crash site, you can tell it's like pretty isolated, and you can tell that's kind of a budget constraint. But as it goes along, everything with this crash site, as they're navigating throughout the ship, it's broken, it's damaged, it's just busted up all over the place. It's kind of morphed with this giant building as well, so that's a part of the set. Honestly, kind of a mind-blowing set design for a TV show. It's pretty incredible, and I think they pull it off really well. And speaking of this whole crash site, I think it was a really good creative idea to basically revolve the first 2 episodes around this entire crash site. It's not one of those things where it's like, okay, they go in, there's no survivors, or there's a couple survivors, all right, we're in and out, we're moving on to the next thing. No, it's very like isolated and suffocating at times, like an alien movie, like an alien TV show should be, because that's how we see these xenomorphs creeping around, crawling on top of things, going through vents, whatever have you, all of that, tunnels and whatnot. That's just very iconic for this franchise, and I love they decided to go that angle. Also works very well with a budget constraint of a TV show. But like I said, the set design and how they're navigating all this, how people are getting killed along the way, how they're showing us the clues of what really happened, because we just cut to all of the carnage and the ship virtually just starting to crash at that point. We don't know exactly how it all went down. Yeah, we can kind of guess, there was some chest bursting happening, I'm sure, which they do show us. But I like how this search and rescue team, one of them is the brother of, our main character, Wendy, who's the main synthetic along this journey. So that's a part of the story as well. But I really enjoy how we're following her brother and the other search and rescue team members, and they're just kind of discovering things along the way. And quickly, this search and rescue kind of mission becomes way more than that. They're starting to have to piece together the clues because things are not really adding up. They're probably going to have to pass along some of this information because they're seeing some things that are not too good. Clearly, the stuff that was on this ship was some crazy shit, and it's starting to kill them along the way. And I just like the fact that they're showing us the clues. They're piecing it together. We're piecing it together. I don't know. It's just a fun journey as they're traveling throughout this ship. And I'll probably say this a lot as I talk about this show. I said this a lot when I talked about the original Alien, but man, the CRT looking TVs throughout this set and on the ship, the tactileness of like the buttons and everything, how worn it is, the aesthetic of it, how things look worn and destroyed, obviously after the crash, very destroyed, but things are broken and all of that. It's just great stuff, man, and I just eat it up. And yeah, clearly a lot of stuff in this TV show were shown right away as inspired by the original Alien, which is definitely a horror movie. So is there going to be some scary, nasty stuff, especially in this first 2 episodes? Well, towards the end of that first episode, man, there's that moment there where the 2 search and rescue guys get handcuffed by the cyborg guy, and then that creepy, crawly little thing, whatever you want to call that thing, is crawling all over that one guy, and then immediately just starts like sucking the blood and life out of him to become like this little nasty little bloater. Man, just watching that all go down. I mean, how can you not like shiver and just feel like something is crawling all over you while you're watching that moment? Really effective, creepy moment that definitely had some eeriness to it and definitely had some horror elements as well, but just a nasty moment. And like I mentioned a little bit earlier, there's also this extra layer to this story early on of these corporations battling for information, battling for these species, battling for territories. And there's clearly going to be a little battle and a little fight and just some lawsuits and all sorts of other things going on with that. It adds a little extra layer to the story. Not necessarily my favorite part of the story that I'm really looking forward to. No, I want to see xenomorphs. I want to see scary shit. I want to see darkness. I want to see grittiness, blood, guts, and gore. I want to see some good characters, of course, but that adds a little something extra to it. It's also relatable in today's world, definitely. But hopefully we also get some teases about places on Mars and other planets and things like that. I mean, if we can also travel to other places throughout the story too, yeah, I will be excited for that, no doubt. Speaking of blood, guts, and gore and just sheer carnage, I love when that medic and the other guy show up to like that Renaissance orgy that guy has going on and all of that. And then the xenomorph shows up too. We get the first xenomorph mouth kill there. And then he's like picking up that guy and flinging him around. And then he just goes, the xenomorph that is, goes absolutely ham on this party, ripping these people to shreds. So if you're thinking, okay, this is, a show on Hulu, a show on FX, is there going to be a lot of blood, guts, and gore? We get some gore. Like the main guy, I think it's his penthouse suite. He's like crawling away, completely cut in half, all bloodied up. So you're like, oh, damn. Yeah, we're going to get some blood in this one. And I also thought it was cool in that moment, right as the medic is about to get killed by the xenomorph, I just immediately thought Wendy was going to show up because it just kind of led us to believe she was getting closer and closer and closer. But no, it was the cyborg captain guy. And he's got like this big ass taser gun, which also makes sense. That's a cool addition, I think, to the franchise. I don't think I've ever seen that before. And also makes sense to kind of take down a xenomorph. It definitely would work on some humans too. But, with the whole acid blood thing, having just an assault rifle doesn't exactly get the job done. But with that character, I keep finding myself like really interested in his story in particular. For some reason, he really reminds me of Dallas from the original Alien movie. Obviously, I think that guy is the captain of the ship. It seems like he's giving people orders and things like that. But of course, he's a cyborg version, so he's got some other things that he can do, like just shit coming out of his hand, like blades and other things like that, which is pretty cool as well and helps the character to kind of evolve. But like I said, kind of reminds me of Dallas from the original Alien, but if Dallas just went rogue. So it seems like thus far in the show, this whole story about Wendy and then also her brother, who she reveals pretty quickly on that, hey, I'm actually your sister that you thought was dead. So here I am. Hey, I'm now a synthetic. But that whole story, that's going to be a big part of this show, I'm sure, especially early on in the show. But I did think it was a little bit weird how the brother wanted her to prove that it was actually Wendy inside of that whole synthetic body and all that. He's like, remember that one thing you said years and years and years ago, that one morning? Like, shit, man, I don't even remember what I said last week, let alone years ago. Probably a blessing, though, with all the dumb shit that I say. And just to piggyback a little bit off of that whole boy genius, the genius guy who owns the corporation that is doing this whole thing with the synthetics, that character, I thought it was a little weird that this guy just kind of flippantly like sends these very special projects off on like a search and rescue mission to help with this whole crash site thing. I get it's kind of a pain in the ass for him and it's probably going to cost him a lot of money. Not that money probably even matters to him at this point, but it seems weird that this project that it seems like he's really, really into, he's even talking about like, I can finally like have a good conversation with somebody. And he's probably got some other weird shit that he's got planned along the way and all of that. But it seems weird, like I said, that he just sends them off kind of no problem without even really thinking about it, when clearly there's probably something really bad on this ship that is really, really dangerous. And I get these synthetics have superhuman strength and these other abilities and things like that, but they still have a childlike brain. They're not exactly ready for this. I mean, some of them, when they see one little creepy crawly thing, they start freaking out and screaming like they're 3 years old. They're not really like my kids. I have a 5 and a 7-year-old, and those kids, if they see a spider or they see a grasshopper or a bird, they just go and grab it. They're totally different. But still, it seems weird that he just quickly sends these special things that he has to go and potentially be put into some pretty big danger. And then even when he sees through their eyes that, okay, there is some bad stuff on this ship, he doesn't think, okay, maybe I should bring you guys back and let the humans take care of that and potentially get slaughtered. But maybe he views those as more valuable than his synthetics at this point. I don't know. Maybe he does. And there's probably another motive to his character that hasn't been revealed yet. But still, that part seemed a little bit weird because he had been putting so much work into these synthetics. And then it's just like, yeah, go ahead, go off and potentially be destroyed. It's like, okay. And so at the end of the second episode, Wendy and her brother are heading out of this crash. They've gotten to know each other. They're having that emotional moment. Her brother's like, yeah, it is really you. Like, this is crazy and kind of cool at the same time. And then they're right next to this big hole in the ship. And then a xenomorph just shows up and ninja snatches her brother. I did think that part seemed a little odd for what we saw thus far in the story. Now, I understand sometimes xenomorphs will capture people and go and cocoon your ass for a nice little chest bursting session later on. I get that. But with what we've seen thus far in this show, that didn't really seem like the most likely route that it would go. It didn't really seem like the style we were going for thus far in the show. It seemed like more of a moment where this thing would want to use more of like a brute force and just start acting like a complete buzzsaw again, just tearing shit apart. And it could have been like this big battle or something like that. It just seemed kind of weird that the xenomorph was just like, oh, I need to quickly grab him and get the hell out of here because this is a dangerous. There's no way he knows that she's a synthetic and this is actually dangerous. For all this thing knows, these are just two humans that he could easily kill in 2 seconds. But I get it. Probably wants to do a little chest bursting, but still, like I said, just what we'd seen thus far, it seemed like a little bit of a weird approach to end episode number 2. So after 2 episodes, am I enjoying the new show, Alien Earth, so far? Yeah, I like it so far. I'm personally more of a movie guy because I think movies typically give you more of a payoff. Whereas nowadays with TV shows, I feel like, if you have 10 or 20 episodes in a TV show, there's just so much filler in those episodes, so many episodes that are like inconsequential that just don't really give you anything memorable. And I feel like my time is just really, really valuable to me. One of the most valuable things that I have just in general. So if I feel like I'm kind of wasting my time with some of the episodes, I usually just give it up. So when it comes to TV shows, I really usually only watch them long term if they're really all-time great shows where virtually every episode is really, really damn good. Not like a season finale per se, but really, really damn good. That's just kind of my flavor. So my point is, we're 2 episodes in and I'm definitely enjoying it so far, but what usually makes or breaks a show for me is some of the episodes in the middle of a season, where you're away, you're already past the whole hook of the show, like the big moment that sets up the foundation for the rest of the show. And you're also not yet to like the big season finale, which is usually another big moment that takes a lot of writing, a lot of creativity and all of that. But those middle episodes usually make or break a show for me, which obviously we haven't gotten there yet. Hopefully they kill them in this show. And if they do a really good job with those middle episodes in the season, then yeah, I'll probably stick around. But like I said a second ago, I am enjoying Alien Earth so far. It's got some brutality. It's definitely got horror elements. The cinematography is really damn good. The set design is kind of mind-blowing. Great job with the xenomorphs. They look amazing. I'm interested in some of the characters and how they're going to evolve. I'm interested in some of the storylines. Some others, not so much. The corporation stuff and all of that, whatever. We've seen that a million times. But still, Alien Earth. Yeah, I mean, especially if you're an Alien franchise fan, I definitely recommend checking it out. But anyways, there you go. Those are my thoughts on the first 2 episodes of Alien Earth. If you want some more videos from me right now, go ahead and check out one of these videos next to me. If you don't want to miss future videos on the channel, the best way to do that is to make sure you subscribe. If you enjoyed this review, make sure you leave a like. Really does help me out a lot. All of my social media links are down below in the description if you want to follow me over there for updates, life posts, random things, all that kind of stuff. But anyways, everybody, thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. My name is Matt, and I will talk to you in the next one.